Hello everybody, Aiden here, and welcome into another video here on the Around the Slice Entertainment YouTube channel. So, as is the case every week, this week is especially special because tonight, episode 6, aka the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, premiered on HBO and HBO Max. So I'm here to discuss it with you all and give you all my thoughts on it as a whole, the episode as a whole, and then at the end, now that the series is over after six good episodes, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the season as a whole and the show as a whole. So let's dive right in. First, starting with this finale, episode 6 specifically, my one overarching big takeaway, tonally and thematically, this was very clearly a very calm episode. This, everyone says the calm before the storm. Well, you can flip that. This was the calm after the storm, if you would, after the storm per se. And honestly, that calmness was needed after last week's Trial of the Seven episode was as chaotic as can be, was as batshit crazy as could be. Backtracking to last week's episode, I said on this very program with you all that the writers, from an HBO perspective, from a top-down level, it's going to be near impossible to beat what we just saw with episode 5 in the Trial of the Seven showcase. We were talking about all-time greatness displayed. We were talking arguably one of the very best episodes we've ever seen in the Game of Thrones universe as a whole, specifically anything since Game of Thrones season 6, in my mind at least, in my purview at least. And while this finale didn't go near topping last week, don't get it twisted, this was still a spectacular finale. I'm glad it was very calm. It gave us nice closure to a few different characters. It gave us nice closure to a few different storylines. When last week was the batshit crazy action with the Trial of the Seven, chaotic every second, boom, 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 every single second, go, go, go. This was truly the calm after the storm, and I really enjoyed the writing on display here, the wittiness, the quips, everything as a whole with this episode / finale episode specifically. One touch that I really liked, it seems like a theme at this point, but we got another Sir Arlen of Penningtree flashback. We got another Sir Arlen flashback interacting with Sir Dunk. And I really enjoyed how HBO and the writing room as a whole, specifically and mainly, has incorporated these flashbacks, especially connecting the flashbacks to the present day, seeing how Sir Dunk met Sir Arlen, seeing how Sir Dunk came up under Sir Arlen, seeing how Sir Dunk served under Sir Arlen for him specifically. I really have enjoyed how the writing has come together, how the writers have tied the past flashbacks to the present day, and how we used it as motivation over the last couple episodes, and now tying that into now the roles are reversed, where Sir Dunk is the head knight, and Egg is his apprentice, if you will, and Egg is going along with the journey. Speaking of, well, I'll get to that at the end, what I want for my hopes and wishes for season 2. So, again, very calm episode, gave us a lot of closure to a few different characters, a few different storylines that I wanted to see, and they keep tying these flashbacks to the present day really nicely. This season as a whole, I want to start with the positives because I have a bit of a spicy take when it comes to some concerns I had with the show as a whole, at least in the terms of public perception. It would be viewed as a spicy take, if you would. Right off the bat, though, I do want to explain and go into and dive into, if you would, I really did enjoy the shorter runtimes of these episodes. These are, I don't know if you want to call them bite-sized because that would be really small, like 15 to 20 minutes, but they're a little more than bite-sized. They're really shorter episodes, at least in the grand scope of Game of Thrones shit. 30 to 40 minutes. Most are 30 to 35 minutes. Hell, this finale was a half hour long. 30 minutes long. Some people might say it's too short, but if you're asking me, Aiden Weingartner, I thought that was a great runtime. The shorter runtime lends to more smaller scale, straightforward character study episodes. We really spent time with these characters. We really spent time building this relationship with Sir Dunk and Egg as a whole. Because let's be honest, we all love Game of Thrones, especially seasons 1 through 6 and maybe season 7, it can get batshit crazy sometimes. It can get to be a lot sometimes. The lore building is great, but it can be a lot. There's a lot of characters to keep track of. There's a lot of kingdoms to keep track of. There's a lot of battles to know. There's a lot of characters introduced specifically as a whole. And let's be honest, those almost all Game of Thrones episodes are pushing hour 15 at minimum, and season finales are pushing hour and a half to hour 45. That's almost a damn near movie length at that time. So it's two extremes, right? For Game of Thrones, very long, drawn out stories, although it's awesome. This, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, very short form, straightforward character building, character study stories as a whole. I really enjoyed the shorter runtime. We got to spend as much time as possible to an extent with these characters. I really enjoyed how simplistic and straightforward and small scale this was, because I love Game of Thrones, although I do think it's overrated. Spicy take, I know I've explained that a few different times here on this program, on this channel, specifically as a whole. But moving past that, it can be a lot sometimes, the lore building, everything that goes into it, kingdoms, characters, yada, 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 blah, blah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the shorter, straightforward, simplistic runtimes. What I'm about to say might ruffle some feathers. Viewed as a negative, viewed as a concern, I don't know. These last two episodes, episode 5, the Trial of the Seven episode, and then last week, episode 6 tonight, this week, the finale episode, saved this show for me, just for me, from an Aiden Weingartner perspective, for me personally. I don't mean saved in like, oh, this show was bullshit. This show was dog shit from the jump. This show would have been a terrible rating for me personally if it didn't add the last 2 episodes. No, I mean it more in the sense of I thought this was a good enough series, but not a great series like I was hoping it to be, like I've seen the chatter online, like I've seen everyone discuss. Everyone's saying it was great. Everyone's saying it was phenomenal. And look, I'm sure if I have read the books, I could compare it to the books and say, like, this is a very faithful adaptation. This is beat for beat, storyline for storyline. But I look at shows just by themselves. I don't give a shit about the books. I don't have the attention span to maintain a reading level or anything. Just telling the truth here, guys, to you all. It's just how I operate in my life. But yeah, so I look at shows by itself, and these last episodes saved it for me, at least in terms of, not in terms of it was bullshit, dog shit, and terrible, but in terms of I was viewing this series as good and not great like everyone else was. I've seen chatter online. Now, this is one perspective and thing I can definitely get behind. I've seen some chatter online. I haven't seen a single moment, a single second. I know season 3 is coming out this summer of HBO's House of the Dragon. But from what I've seen and heard, whether it's podcasts I listen to, a few friends and my cousins and family members that watch this series as well, they say that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, this show, is better than both seasons of House of the Dragon combined. I'm going to have to catch up with House of the Dragon for season 3 this summer for my kind of like, nerd brain and pop culture brain and whatnot, if you would. But I can definitely get behind that motive. I can definitely hear where the general public is coming from with that. If they like the more comedic, lighthearted character study tone of this series, as opposed to the big dragon level shit that we see in House of the Dragon, then sure, I can absolutely get behind that. But I just wasn't nearly as high. I don't want to say nearly as high because that sounds like slighting it a bit. I wasn't as high in this show as a whole. So I'm going to give you my final score and then some final kind of rumblings that I want to see for season 2. Final score, 8.25 out of 10. I know some of you, whether you've read the books or whether you enjoy this tone a little bit more than I did, you're probably going to give it a 9, maybe 9.25, maybe in some rare cases, 9.5 out of 10. I'll be a bit more conservative, right? A bit lower, if you would. 8.25 out of 10, just because, again, the last 2 episodes, phenomenal. Trial of the Seven, like that's some king shit right there. So Dunk was on some king shit in that entire episode. Breath in and breath out, but king shit to a core. But again, this is a bit slower pace. The first 3 or 4 episodes, I understand that we have to dive into a true character study of getting to know Sir Dunk's morals and getting to know his ultimate goals. Those 3 or 4 episodes, to me, one through line I really enjoyed is seeing Dunk and Egg's relationship, but I think it got a little too long to get the wheels turning, if you will, a little too long to get the gears going, if you would, a little too long to see other serious character interactions. So I'm more on the conservative side a bit, lower than you guys probably, 8.25 out of 10. Again, I'm sure you maybe disagree based on the chatter I've seen and heard for the show as a whole, specifically, mainly, but let me know in the comments below. For season 2, HBO, weirdly enough, at least to my knowledge, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, and I apologize if I did get this wrong, but at least to my knowledge, as you sit here tonight, HBO has not renewed A Night of the Seven Kingdoms Game of Thrones spinoff for a season 2 yet. I'm sure within the next few weeks or so, boom, we'll get it. But we're inevitably have to get a season 2 because we saw at the end of season 1, at the end of tonight's finale episode 6 rather, that Egg and Sir Dunk, now Egg is officially going to follow him around as Squire, and Sir Dunk, for all intents and purposes, is a full-fledged knight leading him. So I think that they're going to Dorne wherever they else. But huge issue here. Egg lied to Sir Dunk, saying his father gave him the green light to go with him, basically. His father, we see in the little right before the credits scene, that his father did not. He's screaming, "Where's Egg? Where's Aegon?" In season 2, there's going to be a manhunt for Dunk and Egg, if you would. There's going to be a kingdom-wide search for those two, and I think season 2, when we inevitably do get greenlit for one from HBO, is going to be way more intense than season 1, which is the heart of Game of Thrones at its core. True manhunt, true kingdom sprawling problem, if you would, to find those two. But I'm glad that we're exploring other kingdoms in the show that we have seen in future years in Game of Thrones, at least in this timeline. It sounds like they're going to Dorne. Maybe season 2 can take place in Dorne. Maybe season 3 can take place in another kingdom. Season 4, so on, another kingdom. You get the point. So anyways, guys, yeah, my one core wish, if you had to ask me, Aiden, what is the one overarching thing you want to see in season 2 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms on HBO? Game of Thrones spinoff. I would tell you, I want to see a deep exploration of Egg's past. I want to see a deep exploration of him as a child, younger than he already is. I want to see a deep exploration of his family ties, his Targaryen ties, and his motives, and what motivated him to become an official squire now for Sir Duncan the Tall. So yeah, anyways, one final reminder, 8.25 out of 10. Little lower, little on the conservative side, but that's just what I think. Not nearly as high on it as other people. I think it was a good series, but not great. So there you go. And I have nothing compared to the books. So please don't get mad at me because I say, well, if you read the books, it's a very faithful adaptation. I don't read. So get over it, for lack of a better term. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that concludes all 6 episodes of the Game of Thrones spinoff on HBO's A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Kind of bittersweet. We've been going on this the last 6 weeks. I appreciate the journey you guys have followed me on. I appreciate the support every single week. Every Sunday night, it's been an absolute blast with y'all. Seeing the likes, seeing the comments, seeing the subscribes. Every ounce of support does mean the world to me. Anyways, after this, now that the show is concluded, we have more shows coming out. Every Thursday night, we still have the HBO's The Pit. And then literally from this point of this recording, within the next couple days, we have season 2 of Paradise premiering on Hulu with its first 3 episodes. And then we'll be doing that every Monday thereafter. So, as always, one last time for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, please like and subscribe. Please share this video with anyone and everyone you know. You can follow me personally on Twitter /X at A1Gunner13 for any additional movie/TV show discussions and opinions as a whole specifically. And yeah, thank you for support as always, guys. Let me know down in the comments below now that this show is over. What was your favorite episode, least favorite episode? I want to talk about this Game of Thrones spinoff even more now that these weekly reviews, instant reaction reviews, and reactions are over. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Still a lot of shows coming out as I explained with those couple. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.